Since the United Nations Relief Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, first began its work in 1950, few could have imagined that 65 years later, it will continue to play such a vital role in the lives of millions of Palestinians. Since its establishment, UNRWA's mandate has evolved and expanded in many unanticipated ways, although its commitment to improve the lives of Palestinian refugees remain unwavering. Today, UNRWA provides assistance and protection to nearly 5.2 million registered Palestinian refugees through provision of health care, education, social services, infrastructure, and camp improvement, microfinance and micro-enterprises, and emergency assistance, including in times of armed conflict. Thanks to the steadfast support of many member states, UNRWA has made important contributions to the human development and protection of Palestinian refugees. The deterioration of the socio-economic and humanitarian condition in the region, as well as increasing instability due to conflict, has had devastating impacts on the lives of Palestinian refugees. These conditions have created formidable obstacles to the agency's ability to provide necessary assistance, including in many facets of its emergency recovery, reconstruction, and development programs. Last year's conflict in Gaza had far-reaching negative impacts on the 1.2 million people UNRWA provides assistance to them. Thousands died and many more were injured, some of whom will suffer from long physical disabilities and emotional trauma. The large-scale destruction that took place is further amplified by the lack of resources. It is of great importance that the necessary funding is provided as quickly as possible so that reconstruction can begin in Gaza. In this context, I urge all donors to seek ways of further support to UNRWA's vital work across the region. Renewed support from the UN system, donors, and the international community will be critical for further strengthening the work of the agency. I wish to express my profound gratitude and cooperation and appreciation to UNRWA under the leadership of Commissioner Mr. Pierre Granba for its extraordinary work. I also thank all those who worked tirelessly on behalf of Palestinian refugees and express my sincere condolences to the loved ones of those that have lost their lives in the line of duty. I thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, the GA President, Kahamba Kutesa. I now pass the floor to Dr. Hanan Ashrawi, Special Representative of His Excellency Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine and member of the Executive Committee of the PLO. Please, Dr. Ashrawi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words, Mr. Secretary General, and thank you all for being here. I wish to apologize for our delay because of the rain, and I can assure you the rain is not my responsibility. I didn't bring it. I would love to have rain in Palestine, though. Anyway, I am honored indeed to represent His Excellency President Mahmoud Abbas, President of the State of Palestine, at this high-level conference. I thank His Excellency Secretary General Ban Ki-moon for his keynote statement and for his firm support of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East, UNRWA. We express our thanks to the Commissioner General of UNRWA, Mr. Pierre Crownbull, for his statement and for chairing this important conference. I also express appreciation to His Excellency Mr. Christos Stylianides, I hope it was the right pronunciation, European Union Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Management, and His Excellency Mr. Hans Dahlgren, State Secretary for Foreign and EU Affairs to the Prime Minister of Sweden, for their presence on this occasion, and to all delegations joining us here today. Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is with both sorrow and gratitude that the Palestinian people commemorate the 65th anniversary of UNRWA. In May of this year, we solemnly marked the passage of 67 years since Nakba, May 1948 and the dark months that preceded it witnessed the violent and catastrophic uprooting and displacement of the Palestinian people from their homeland, Palestine. More than 530 Palestinian towns and villages, entire homes, communities, and cultural heritage were destroyed by militias and the army of the State of Israel during Nakba, and more than 70 massacres were perpetrated in which at least 15,000 Palestinians were killed. 800,000 Palestinians, children, women, and men, constituting more than half of the Palestinian population, were expelled or forced to flee from their homeland in fear for their lives. Dispossessed and dispersed in the remainder of their homeland and to neighboring countries in the region, mainly to Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria, they became refugees whose plight persists until this day, and now they number around 5.3 million, as they continue to be denied their right to return, to live at peace with their neighbors, and to obtain compensation for their losses, as called for decades ago by the UN General Assembly in Resolution 194. And Nakba has been a defining moment in the history of Palestine and the history of the United Nations. This injustice, unresolved and festering for nearly 7 decades, remains a painful wound in Palestinian hearts and in the Palestinian psyche, and in the landscape of our region as well, and remains at the core of the Palestinian struggle for peace, justice, and freedom. Indeed, despite enduring the longest occupation in modern history, and despite nearly 7 decades of exile endured by millions of Palestinian refugees, their national identity remains strong, and their conviction in the justness of their cause remains unwavering as they seek to realize their long-denied inalienable rights. In that quest for peace and justice, the UN role has been central. We recognize this as part of the permanent responsibility towards the question of Palestine until it is justly resolved in all its aspects, including the refugee question, a responsibility enshrined and reaffirmed in countless resolutions and upheld in daily UN work in various fields in support of the Palestinian people. UNRWA has been at the forefront of this endeavor. From the outset of operations in 1950, following its establishment by Resolution 302, assistance was extended in a comprehensive and humane manner to the hundreds of thousands of Palestine refugees left destitute following the 1948 war. That mission continues as a just solution for the Palestine refugees, and a peaceful settlement to the conflict remain elusive. UNRWA continues to be a lifeline for millions of Palestine refugees, providing education, healthcare, social and relief programs, opportunities for work, growth and development, as well as protection and emergency aid in times of crisis. Even beyond its immediate mandate, UNRWA is also recognized as a stabilizing factor in the region. Today, we gather to commemorate 65 years of exceptional humanitarian and development work by UNRWA, to commend its achievements, to recognize its place in the long journey of the Palestine refugees and the many challenges it faces in meeting their needs in an environment of great instability and constant financial shortfalls, and to recommend to supporting the agency's mission and advancing a just solution for the Palestine refugees in the context of a lasting peace. For 65 years, UNRWA has been led by highly dedicated commissioners general, deputies and field directors and international staff, along with a committed national staff of at least 30,000 in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and occupied Palestine, carrying out the agency's indispensable work. We express deep appreciation to Commissioner General Crownball for leading the agency with such integrity and skill, and through him express our deep and sincere gratitude to UNRWA's entire staff for their tireless efforts. I wish also to recognize among us today, I wonder if she's here, former Commissioner General Karen Abizaid, and thank her for her years of service. Is Karen here?
plane was delayed, I'm afraid. So
It was
she
delayed.
sends
Well, anyway, in absentia, we'll extend also our appreciation for Karen's work. She did a remarkable job, and she's a very good friend. Here, we further recognize the sacrifices of UNRWA's Palestinian national staff, who serve in unstable and precarious conditions, often endangering their lives in order to ensure the continuity of support to the refugees in all circumstances, under occupation and in exile. We pay tribute to the staff members whose lives were taken this past year in attacks by the Israeli occupying forces in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, as well as those killed in the ongoing tragic conflict in Syria. And we reiterate our condolences to their families and to their UNRWA colleagues. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, UNRWA reflects the best of what the UN can do in a global context, where the political will for promoting real solutions is regrettably all too often lacking, necessitating long-term support to affected populations. And in this context, we always say the greatest success would be when UNRWA's mission is no longer needed, when we have a just solution to the whole question of Palestine, including the refugee question. This is one case where the agency can self-negate when it feels that it has effectively resolved the real issue that it has served for so long, and so aptly, actually. With principle, compassion, and commitment, UNRWA has exemplified the tangible difference the UN makes in the lives of millions of people around the world, particularly the vulnerable, suffering from man-made and natural crises. And I always say it is man-made, it's not woman-made. Embodying the principles of international humanitarian law in action. It has done so through a unique combination of international stewardship and national capacity, as well as a refined synergy among the elements of humanitarian assistance, protection, and human development. In this way, with the support of the host countries and the international donor community, UNRWA has met immediate needs while also promoting development, advocating for rights, and preserving human dignity. Numerous Palestinian refugees have given heartwarming and heart-wrenching accounts of the special role UNRWA has played in their lives, and we look forward to hearing testimonies today from among the millions that UNRWA has assisted over the decades, including the children it educates, the youth to whom it gives training and job opportunities, the mothers who receive maternal and infant care at its health centers, the women and men who benefit from its microfinance programs to support their families, the abject poor whose subsistence it ensures, at a minimal level at least, the displaced it shelters, the Bedouin refugees it advocates for in the face of forced transfer due to the encroachment of the illegal Israeli settlements and the wall, and the most vulnerable it protects and aids in periods of conflict. UNRWA has helped the refugees lead healthy lives and be productive members of their communities, not just passive aid recipients. Most significantly, however, it has provided them with that rare commodity of hope and fortitude in the search for justice and the promise of a better future. The power of hope in the context of human resilience should not be underestimated. We recognize with humility and deepest respect the resilience of the Palestinian refugees, a resilience rightly recognized as legendary. Yet, as starkly shown in these past months, that resilience is not inexhaustible. And as waves of crises plague the region, the lives and fate of so many Palestinian refugees have been thrown into turmoil yet once again. The plight of the refugees in the Yarmouk camp in Syria has come to symbolize this heartbreaking tragedy. Yarmouk, where Palestinian refugees have peaceably resided for more than 60 years, awaiting a just solution, has been ravaged by war and siege, come under savage assault of Daesh, and been described by the Secretary of General as the deepest circle of hell. With children, women, men, and the elderly forced to flee for their lives, traumatized yet again. Such anguish is the backdrop for the flight of more refugees to Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and Egypt among others, and for the journeys of despair across the Mediterranean Sea being taken by Palestine refugees along with other migrants. In their attempts to escape the horrors of war and poverty that continue to be inflicted on them, many would rather face the threat of death by drowning rather than the torturous, life-sapping misery they have been forced to endure. The successive Israeli wars, the Israeli blockade, and massive devastation and carnage inflicted on the Palestinian civilian population in the Gaza Strip further underscore this existential disaster. There, Palestine refugees have been among the thousands subjected to merciless killing, injury, and maiming by the Israeli occupying forces in their homes, in their UN schools, playgrounds, and hospitals, in addition to the destruction of their homes, public institutions, infrastructure, and whole neighborhoods. While they have yet to recover from this trauma and humanitarian disaster, they continue to endure the grave impact of a dehumanizing siege that is crippling their society, forcing them to live in poverty in the ruins of their communities, isolating them from the rest of the world, exhausting their coping abilities, and draining them of hope. We will continue to appeal and work for the urgent alleviation of their plight, for the reconstruction of Gaza, and the lifting of the siege. And yes, we do agree, Mr. Secretary General, that we do need to effect genuine reconciliation to heal the rift in our own body politic, in our own political system, and revitalize the legitimacy of our political system through elections. And we need your help in these elections as well. We will also seek accountability for the crimes that have been perpetrated against them, against the Palestine refugees, but against Palestine as a whole. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, we must also affirm our deep appreciation to all host countries and states that have offered assistance to the refugees, particularly Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. We fully recognize their support for the refugees and for UNRWA's work and the burdens they have shouldered over the decades. This is of special significance given the painful upheavals and unbridled violence threatening the security and stability of many countries in our region. The role of the international donor community is also recognized with deepest gratitude, especially among the major donors, members, and observers of the Advisory Commission, whose generous funding and support for UNRWA's mandate has sustained its mission. Donors' voluntary contributions have been key for the uninterrupted provision of assistance in the 5 fields of operation from the start, despite repeated calamities and severe funding gaps. We are grateful for donor support to the core budget as well as to emergency appeals, and we stress that all support, monetary and in kind, from donors large and small, traditional and new, from all corners of the globe, is meaningful and essential. We also express thanks to all UN agencies and international humanitarian organizations partnering with UNRWA to provide care for our people. It is indeed this partnership that has made possible this unique and effective synergy between humanitarian assistance and human development. As the Palestine refugees and UNRWA continue to face formidable challenges, we appeal again to the international community to renew its commitment to bring an end to this tragedy with the realization of a just solution to the plight of the refugees in accordance with international law and relevant UN resolution, foremost Resolution 194. The rights of our refugees cannot be abrogated and cannot be perpetually denied. This remains one of the highest priorities for the Palestinian people and leadership, and is a core issue that must be resolved for the conclusion of a final peace settlement. Indeed, a just solution for the refugee question is imperative for Palestinian-Israeli peace, as well as for a comprehensive Arab-Israeli peace, as indicated in the Arab Peace Initiative. The PLO remains fully committed to the achievement of a genuine peace based on international law and the imperatives of justice. We have sought multilateralism and the global rule of law as evidenced by our recent accessions to international conventions and treaties, and have persistently tried to rescue the two-state solution despite the Israeli government's willful and destructive efforts to superimpose Greater Israel on all of historical Palestine. And this is happening before our very eyes, Mr. Secretary General. There can be no partial or transitional or inequitable solutions. We welcome all individual and collective initiatives, affirming the commitment of the international community to a just peace and to ending the occupation within a specified and binding time frame. The state of Palestine is yearning for release from its protracted captivity and the exile and subjugation of its people. It longs to join the community of nations as an equal, a free and sovereign state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. You have the instruments, the means, and the will to make it happen. On behalf of the Palestinian people as a whole, I thank you all for your participation, your support, and your solidarity on this important occasion. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ashrawi, thank you very, very much indeed. We now have a video message from His Excellency Nasser Judeh, Minister of Foreign and Expatriates Affairs of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan.